I spent a decent amount of time yesterday writing up an expose on whether Q is real or not.
They are moving forward with a world government plan, and if you can't admit there's a shadow government running the world,
However, apparently Reddit the Donald now is like banning all discussion on Q.
create AI.
So I don't know. I guess Q followers can definitely be super annoying. So maybe they just didn't want the thing to turn into just a non-stop Q spam, which is understandable. But it's also nice to have real conversation about it. And like I myself am a Q follower in the sense that I read all the new posts, have been for a long time. And the way that I think about things generally in life, I'm either there's sort of three positions that I can have on any particular piece of information. That's not directly related to me. Just things that you would have to research. So one would be I have no clue, right? Like one would be I haven't researched it, don't know, and if I haven't researched, that probably means I also don't care. But so that's one of my positions. Just don't know, maybe don't even care. Second position is after I've researched or looked into something, I could be 50-50 on it. And what that means is, could go either way. I'm not necessarily going to take a hard stance on it, but I'm definitely going to allow for either possibility for whatever it is that we're talking about. And then the final stance that I take is 99%. So 99% I think is pretty self-explanatory. I'm pretty sure this is the case. Like almost certainly sure, but you just can't be 100%. It's not a thing that people, in terms of something that they're not specifically, having knowledge about in their own life, in their own life. And I said wife. I was going to use the example of like, I'm 100% sure that I love my wife, or that I'm married to my wife. Like these things are directly in my purview. They're my decisions. They're my life. But outside of your life, if you don't have connection with these things, 99% is the best you can do. So those are my three. With Q, I'm 99% about some things. I'm 50% about others. In terms of if Q has actual security clearance, I'm 50-50, guys. 50-50. And that doesn't mean I don't think he has security clearance. That's 50-50. That's me saying there's a 50% chance that, yeah, Q legitimately does have security clearance. So that's pretty good. I'm definitely not 99% on he doesn't, but I'm not 99% on he does either. So 50-50 is and as far as I'm concerned, it's a vote in the Q favor because it is such a sort of conspiratorial, I guess you would call it an unlikely scenario. So to be true. Usually on the internet, these types of things would be just fake. But if you examine the evidence, I think you're going to find that there's actually a pretty good chance that it is true. So I'm 50-50, but let's dig a little bit deeper into that and why that is. And I think what I say is probably going to end up being something that, well, certainly you don't hear people who are in the Q argument talking about, which is weird because Q says it a lot. Like he mentions this particular fact often. And it's one of the first facts that I considered too, because it's the only thing that really is a way for people who don't have any close connection to the topic to prove the topic. But first, let's talk about what people do wrong on both sides. So the for Qs and the against Qs. So the people that are for Q, what do they do wrong? Well, firstly, they are a lot of times followers, and they're not making their own decisions. Q, to a certain extent, does encourage this, but even if he was real, I would expect him to, because if Q's real, what he's doing is trying to affect a movement, and to affect a movement, you need sheep, okay? Like, you can't have a movement of a bunch of individual thinkers. But what you want to do is be an individual thinker and participate in movements so long as they benefit you personally or your ideals and values. And it's hard, and you have to think in a very specific way to do that. But a lot of people just get caught up into the sheep mentality, and movements need sheep. But we don't want to be sheep. That's not the goal. That's not the ideal. So Q people, a lot of time, they take their direction from Q. They take their what they should do, what they should think, everything from Q, and that's like the extent of their lives, or at least their interaction with him. So that's something they do wrong. Another thing they do wrong is numerology. Oh my gosh. It is just such an illness, guys. I can't even, logically speaking, I cannot, and mathematically speaking, I cannot emphasize enough that you do not want to be doing numerology, okay? Numerology is, it's like cryptography without the decode, okay? You're in such huge trouble because you're making up your own decode. So numerology is, people do this all the time, is they just find numbers. They find numbers. Oh, it's been 7 minutes between this and that, and then this was posted at 1:37. Or I've even seen people say, this was posted at 1:34. 3 plus 4 is 7. It was 7 minutes before Trump's tweet. Like, wow, my gosh. Guys, you can do that with anything at any time. I guarantee it. Easy to prove. All right. Now you say, oh, but Q's use markers. Yes, Q's use markers. The most Q has really said, though, is that, directly, is that my posts tend to coincide in timing in close proximity to the president's tweets. That is true. And even that, though, sorry, not proof of anything. Because there are lots of Q posts that do not coincide with any tweets. Okay, so unless every single post was within a certain amount of time of every single tweet, now you get a little closer to like pseudo proof when Q posts something and the president tweets something within a few minutes that is very close to what Q said. But even then, that's actually not a proof. Okay, like you're not getting any proof from that. You would need something a lot better, because the fact of the matter is, with almost 2,000 posts at this point, and the president tweets all day, every day, like, you're gonna get stuff that lines up, okay? Like, it's gonna happen. There's no question about it. Like, it's just gonna happen. So, that being said, we gotta get away from the numerology. Just stop it. Don't do it anymore. Now, I'll tell you what's legitimate is cryptography. And what cryptography is, it's like numerology with a decode, where someone is specifically gives someone else a way to decode a message and then programs a message with the decode in mind. All right? Q cannot publicly give a decode, because then everyone would have it and there'd be no point in encoding the message. So he has never publicly given a decode. He's hinted toward maybe stuff, but I think he's backed off that because people just get way too off base with it. They're just way too out there. Get rid of it. Until you have a legitimate decode, there's no point in trying to decode something. Totally pointless. So Q people got to stop doing that too. And then the other side, what does the other side do wrong? And when I say the other side, I don't even really mean like the MSM. I'm more talking about the alternative media guys that are against Q, which really, it's like InfoWars has come out against Q at this point. I mentioned I listened to Scott Adams. He's pretty in the Q is fake camp, pretty solidly. Jack Pobasek and a few other guys in the alternative media are just really against that Q may even be real. Like they're 99% he's not real, or even 100%. But if they say they're 100%, that just means they're delusional. So what do they do wrong? Like how exactly are they assessing this incorrectly from my perspective? Well, first of all, almost none of them are actually looking at Q's posts and trying to disprove that he's real. And that's really what you have to do from a science perspective. Like, you need to say, all right, what is a legitimate thing that Q could be? Because someone's posting on behalf of Q, right? Like, we know this isn't just, like, we're not in some kind of alternative universe dimension where things just happen and there's no story behind it. Definitely someone's posting on Q's behalf, and their story is that it's a LARP, right? It's a role playing person who's pretending to be Q but really has no access and is just it's like a prank. And that's a fine story, but unless you look at the posts, go through them, and you have nothing but a story. Okay, you just have nothing but a story. You have to look at the posts. You have to say, all right, is it a legitimate explanation that this is a role player based on what has been posted? That's the question. And there are a lot of things that have been posted that fit factually with both interpretations. Like, in fact, I'd say 99%, to use the 99 again, 99% of the posts fit with both interpretations. That is, that Q is real, or that Q is a role player. So what you have to do, and this is another sort of interesting side point that I've mentioned a few times, is you have to find the facts that matter. Okay, like almost all facts have many interpretations. All right, and when a fact has multiple valid interpretations, it doesn't matter because you don't know which interpretation is the correct interpretation for that fact. Oh, Alex just shot me. So what you have to do is you have to find the facts with the fewest viable interpretations. Then you have to match those facts together. If you find just a couple of facts that only have a few interpretations or just one or two interpretations and end up being, legitimate interpretations, those are the facts that matter, and that's how you can interpret all the other facts that have a billion interpretations that would fit them. So that's what people should be doing in this Q thing, if they care about it. If they care enough to talk about it, they should be doing that. And most of them are not in the alt media. Okay, in fact, I'm not sure any of them are. I mean, maybe there's some smaller people, but I listen to most of the large ones, and I haven't seen anyone really go at this thing in a legitimate way. Which, to me, at that point, just shut your mouth. Like, shut your mouth. If you're not going to give it an actual go, shut your mouth, right? Like, shut your mouth. And it's like, this is sort of the same phenomena, and I'm going to say this at risk of, possibly delegitimizing myself in some people's minds, but that's fine. Let me first state before even talking about this, I do not think the Earth is flat, okay? I don't think it's flat. That said, I'm 99% sure that the Earth is not flat. And you understand what I'm getting at here. I can't say 100%. I have never personally, individually, as a man, gone into space and checked it out, gone to the moon, flown, all the way around the world. And even that, if you look at the flat Earth arguments, it doesn't really tell you that the Earth is round. I've never done any of those things, okay? I did decide, just to try to prove the flat Earthers wrong at one point a few years ago, to send up a weather balloon. And I did, and I was able to determine drop in the horizon, measure it really accurately, and be relatively accurately enough, my own weather balloon, my own video, my own shot, accurately enough to say I'm 99% sure that the Earth is round from an individually verified perspective, okay? But what people don't understand about this argument, they just, on the one side, they're just like, oh, it's flat earthers are freaking idiots. I was like that for like 10 years, okay? I heard about this flat earth thing a long time ago, and I was like, oh, get out of here. Once I started researching other things and researching, conspiracies in general, I realized that's the wrong way to think, okay? Whether or not the claim sounds ridiculous, you cannot discount it offhand. You can't. That is the wrong way to think. Now, what you can do is just not become involved, okay? Like, if you think it's too ridiculous to think about, then just don't be involved. But don't say they're wrong, I know they're wrong, because that's getting involved, okay? Like, if you don't want to get involved, then don't talk about it, right? If you want to get involved, then do your research and do your work. And if you don't, stay out of it, right? So that's just an example, all right? And it's a far out example, but I think it's pretty I mean, I think I'm in pretty safe ground when I say you have to do it right. No matter what, no matter how ridiculous you think it is, you gotta do it right. So that said, let's go into Q with sort of combining everything that I've been talking about. As I said, a lot of the facts have multiple interpretations, right? Like, if Q is real, then there are some staggering, like, shocking things. If Q is fake, then of course he'd be saying all this conspiratorial stuff, right? So we have to identify and zone in on the facts that matter. And the fact I'm going to point to most specifically is something Q mentions quite often, and that he just mentioned a few days ago, which is that he said a LARP, a role player, has access to a bunch of original stock surveillance photos, right? Question mark. And of course his obvious point is no, a LARP does not have access to a bunch of original stock surveillance photos. So let's break down that claim and break down the evidence that we have online. And the key here is what is called reverse image search. All right. I don't know if anyone watches Catfish. My wife and I, something we can kind of have fun together. It's pretty funny to see these people get catfished. But basically, the most common way that the MTV guys figure out, you know, if it's a catfish or not and who the real person is by using reverse image search. It's a highly effective tool because the algorithms to do it are public, and we know exactly how they do it, and we know the internet's public. So, you know, basically you have this situation where if anyone takes a photo from anywhere online, you can identify where they got the photo from. Even portions of a photo, even if they doctor the photo, it'll find the closest version of it using, you know, various just arrangement of pixels. It'll even break down into like the metacode and like find that stuff for you. Like there's a lot of various ways you can do it. And I assure you that the people on the Chan boards are very skilled in that sort of thing. Okay, these people that are following Q and that have been since the beginning are very capable, you know, tech computer users. All right, these are the same types of people who found Shia LaBeouf's "He Will Not Divide Us" flag on multiple occasions using, you know, there's a camera pointed at the sky, right? And it's somewhere in the world, could be anywhere. And these guys find the flag using, you know, plane contrails, trajectories, times of day, triangulate the positioning. It's crazy, but these people know what they're doing. So what you have is a situation where the photos that are supposedly originals, that Q is saying are originals from, you know, surveillance areas, and whether they're actually surveillance photos or not is something we could argue. A lot of them look like they are, but you could set those up. But the chances that a LARP has the ability to use a photo that is not an original stock and get it by these people on the internet and do this like many times, very low. Okay, like very, very low. Man, I am just spam dying here. And what we see with these like supposed surveillance videos is that no one has been able to show that Q has taken them from anywhere else on the web. Okay, so we're now in this sort of situation where we need to analyze these facts. And just as an example, some of these photos are like, there's a few from London from different time periods. One purportedly or supposedly has Lisa Page in it. You can't verify that it's her, but she would know if it's her, which is sort of all that matters if Q is real and he's trying to send a message. So you've got photos from London, you've got photos from China in various locations, including on a tarmac in a warehouse, following particular shipping boxes. You've got photos from Singapore in the location where Kim Jong-un was touring. You have photos from Russian airports. You have a lot of photos from tarmacs, and in particular, there's a photo from a tarmac inside a car which, you know, I'm not saying you can't get inside a car on a tarmac, but you have to be somewhat well off to do that, right? Like if you're in a car with multiple people on a tarmac, like you have some money, okay? So we're in a situation now where these are original photos based on reverse image search. No one's been able to find other copies of them before Q posted them. They're photos from all around the world, and they are generally relevant to, like, you know, what's going on at the time in the news, right? So let's analyze that fact, and it is just a fact, okay? Like it's not really disputable. I mean, unless you're gonna say that this LARP has managed to do something that no one else has, which is like to get around somehow reverse image searching. I know of no way to do that. If anyone could give me a way to do that, then please let me know. But it's pretty open source, generally speaking, anyway. So let's rule that out for now until someone shows us that yeah, you can get around reverse image searching and find these images somewhere. We have original photos from all around the world, from locations that are not super easy to get into. Like, if you're a tourist in China, how are you going to be able to get to, you know, inside a warehouse and then follow these boxes onto a tarmac and take a picture of them there, and then take a picture of them loaded onto the plane? Like, you've got to have some kind of connections at that point, right? And it's like, well, do you have to be what Q says he is to do that? Well, no, you don't. You certainly don't. But we're getting into a point where the LARP explanation, just saying LARP, that doesn't fit, guys. Like, it doesn't, or let me not say it doesn't fit. It's not a simple explanation, okay? You're not just saying, oh, easy, LARP, dude in his basement. Well, no, because what you're actually saying when you say that is, this is a dude in his basement who has a shitload of money and has flied all around the world taking photos to get specific shots of all these places and all these things that are originals in order to not be found out by reverse image search. And you say, well, that's possible. Well, sure, it's possible, but it's also possible that Q is real. So that's why I'm saying 50-50. And the LARP explanation would be a lot more likely if it wasn't the case that we're talking about a super rich, tech-savvy LARP who can fly around the world taking these photos. You kind of almost have like this James Bond troll person at this point who is like I said, he's very tech-savvy. He has a lot of money. He can go all around the world at relevant times. He has tons of knowledge of, you know, conspiratorial stuff, and, might I add, presidential executive orders that he points our eyes to on the day that they get signed that aren't even in the news because no one's really even looking at them, and they're generally, you know, don't seem to be that important until you take a little bit of a deeper look. So you're talking about a person here who has a lot of attributes if he's a LARP that, you know, Trump should probably just hire him if he's a LARP. Like, find him and hire him, because this is not an easy LARPing situation. Not to mention, you have to go undetected. Like, you think if the media couldn't dox this person and find out who it was, you know, just via various, I mean, there's ways to do it with tracking IPs and things of that nature, and especially if you can hack the trip code, which I think has been compromised a couple times. Q's always changed it after that, but, you know, easy to make a mistake, easy to leave some data after you're posting hundreds and hundreds and thousands of images. Like, easy to make a mistake and get found out. And as far as it is, there is no proof, nothing anyone can point to as like, oh, Q made a mistake here. Like, we've got him, he's fake, right? So, I mean, you're talking about a really, really impressive track record. You're talking about a rich dude that can get onto tarmacs in China, that can go to Singapore pretty much on demand. You're talking about... Okay, and then the other photo that I wanted to... Oh, that was so close. Another photo I wanted to point the attention to was the Air Force One reflection photo, which, you know, basically Q says he took a photo of the reflection of the president's Twitter phone onto like one of the lamps in the desk inside Air Force One. If you match it up to sort of like available images of Trump and Air Force One, if you match the reflection up to the lamp and the curtain and the desk, it's like exact, it's perfect. There's really only two ways that a LARP could provide that type of original photo, okay? Like, the first way to do it is by photoshopping it. You have to have really good Photoshop knowledge, but you'd also have to have really, really impressive technical knowledge to a point where, let's put it this way, Obama's birth certificate had Photoshop earmarks all over it, alright? All over it. Like, in lots of ways. You're talking about artifacts were still there. You're talking about layers were still there, and yeah, that could be, the layers could, you know, have remained from some auto scan software or whatever. But the point is, there were Photoshop marks all over it. Photoshop marks things in tons of ways that you wouldn't even expect. To remove all of those, if you had heavily Photoshopped something, is virtually impossible. Okay, I mean, NASA's horrible at it. They Photoshop tons of stuff, and they usually have it like in the, you know, in the margin or whatever. But there's stuff that they've come out with that's Photoshop that they claim is real, or that they're like, oh yeah, we thought it was real, but we forgot it was actually one of our Photoshop things. Obama's guys couldn't do it with his birth certificate, and okay, let me just say, I don't care if Obama was born here or not. It just doesn't matter to me. I know the birth certificate's not his actual birth certificate. Maybe there was something else on the real one that he didn't want to show, like maybe it said Muslim or something like that, who knows. But it's a fake birth certificate that was put out, okay, or at least an edited one. But whether he was born here or not, that doesn't say he was or he wasn't, and it doesn't really matter. Don't care. All I know is that there's a bunch of Photoshop earmarks all over that thing. Q's photo from inside Air Force One does not have Photoshop earmarks at all. There's nothing. There's no data. No reason to suspect that it was Photoshopped, and that's extremely difficult. I know of no way to do that reliably. So we can basically rule that out unless someone can do that for me, like Photoshop something, like essentially recreate that image through Photoshop using, you know, a photo of Air Force One, an iPhone reflection, superimpose them on top of each other, blah blah blah. Unless you recreate that, sorry, like Q, I'm not gonna say there's random. You know, you again, you're adding to this story of a LARP. And again, we're analyzing the facts here. In light of the facts, this is the necessary interpretation. Okay, the necessary interpretation is that Q is, you know, super rich, or at least well off enough to spend a ton of money traveling all around the world at these times. You know, at various times during when the political the news is relevant. And then you also, so he's rich, he's wasting money, he can get into places that are not too easy to get into. Warehouses in China, tarmacs of airports, in cars. You also have a situation where I'm gonna get her. You also have a situation where now he either can fake, you know, remove Photoshop earmarks, extremely difficult, or, and here's the other explanation for that Air Force One, is he could make a set of Air Force One and then use the set to take the photo, and that way you don't have to Photoshop it. But that implies a lot of money too, and that's tough. You got to get that lamp. You got to basically build the desk. You got to get the curtains right. And I mean, you're talking, when you superimpose these images, they are exact. So pretty tough. I mean, now your LARP explanation is, it's not as simple as LARP. Is my point. Okay, it's not that easy. There's a lot going on.
What happened?
And the guy who's doing this is extremely good at what he's doing, has a ton of knowledge. Here, we can watch this.
And NSA, and that he's a patriot, and everything he did. Quote for America.
I like the old days. I like the days, because today they just announced somebody else was hacked and another group was hacked. Everybody's being hacked, okay? They have no idea who's doing it.
I have a young boy, Barron. He's very smart, but he's using the computer so much. We put it on lock, right? No way he can find out. I mean, I don't know what happened. So we go back about an hour later, and he's playing with the computer. We had it on lock. And we said, wait a minute. We had it on lock. You needed a sequential number. And we said, Barron, how did you do that? I'm not telling you, Dad.
Ничего подобного. Сноуден не предатель. Он не предал интересы своей страны.
Snowden will create an injection to hack and download Hillary's emails.
I like that. All right. I love when Trump's talking about Barron. It's funny. Okay. So again, let me just summarize about Q, about just using the relevant facts, right? The facts with the least number of interpretations and the least number of simple interpretations, right? So like anything else, like, oh, he said some conspiracy theory and posted a picture of John McCain from the internet. Well, anybody could do that from their basement. So like that's the most likely explanation. Let's just go with that one. Now we're at a point where what's the more likely explanation of the relevant fact of these original source images from all around the world? Okay, what is more likely? That Q, to a certain extent, is what he says he is, as in like he has security clearance, can access these photos, and is working on behalf of Trump in some way. Is that impossible? No. Is it likely? No. Okay, well, is it likely that a person, there's someone out there who has a ton of money, can travel all around the world, enough connections to get inside locations that normal people would not be able to get inside, has technical knowledge to be able to avoid getting detected and making a mistake in terms of making sure that anything he does, doesn't expose himself, nor does it himself personally, nor does it disprove who he is as what he's pretending to be, and also has not only extensive knowledge of conspiracies, and I've been researching conspiracies for a long time. There is a lot of bunk out there, okay? Like a lot of bunk, like just total bullcrap all over the place, constantly. But then again, it's like, don't be stupid, right? Like, are there conspiracies that happened in the world? Well, yeah, for sure. So, I mean, it's not like all of them are distrue, but a lot of them are, most of them are. And Q, I can say, like, with certainty, steers away from those ones that are definitely not true, like that I would be like 99% not true on. He steers away from those 100%, okay? But the ones that are the most likely to be true, he's all over those like a freaking fly on shit, okay? So you have a situation, again, where he's super intelligent, he has knowledge of conspiracies to a very great extent, has a bunch of money, wants to do this, wants to just mess with people and be like the greatest LARP of all time, and also pays acute attention to things going on within the White House in the sense of like, and within the political realm, in the sense of where people are traveling at any point in time that the news media is not reporting on. He knows where Obama's traveling always, and there's probably a way to find that out, like public source, but I'm not sure what it is. He also knows when Trump's signing executive orders that sort of like have like this sort of conspiratorial relevance that you wouldn't day of, and again, the news not reporting on any of this, right? He has knowledge of Huber before he's really even in the limelight, Huber being like brought in to do the IG report. I mean, very early on a lot of this stuff, okay? So like he's got his pulse on not just the mainstream news, but also the small stuff that isn't even mainstream news yet that enters into the mainstream news sometimes days, sometimes weeks, sometimes months later, okay? All this stuff. So, I mean, this LARP, that explanation, how likely is that there's a person with all of those elements and who decided to do this and has kept it up for this long, okay? I don't think that's any more or less likely from where we're standing then that Q has security clearance and is running it as a psychological operation to help Trump. I don't think either of these things is more or less likely. So we're in a spot, that's why I say 50-50. Just given the relevant facts that we know, we're 50-50. So let's go a little bit deeper into then the what ifs, all right? And it's kind of like what I like to do. If I'm 50-50 on something, I choose what I will believe in the sense of like you have to believe something because otherwise you can't make decisions in life for the most part. Like you're just sort of locked, right? So like why did we put Q in this game, for instance? That's a decision, and we had to make that decision without really knowing whether Q was real. 50-50 on whether Q is real. If he's fake, I don't want him in the game, okay? But if he's real, I do want him in the game. And so how did I make that decision? Well, the way that I do that is by going into what ifs. Okay, we know there's really only two options: either Q is real or he's fake. Okay? There's no in between. He's either a LARP or he's real. You can't go anywhere. There's no in between option there. So you just say what if. All right, what if Q's fake? What if he's real? Well, let's look at the world if Q is fake. If Q is fake, then essentially you have a world where, in all likelihood, a lot of the conspiracies that Q is talking about are also fake. Okay, and the reason for that is because they're so big and grand, like in terms of like how the world is run, that if the world were run like that, the Q real explanation is the only one that makes a lot of sense. From that perspective, and I'm not going to go too deep into explaining why that is, but basically, you end up in this spot where, like, let's say that all of Q's conspiracies are real, but Q himself is fake. You end up in this spot where a lot of conspiracy theorists get to, which is that everything at the top is totally monolithically controlled, and that's like Trump, Clinton. They're all on the same team. All of this is a play, and it's all perfectly controlled. All right. The likelihood of that being true, based on our knowledge of people, is like almost zero. Okay, that's like almost zero. People are not that dependable. They are not that monolithic. They do things for themselves. Okay, they'll make alliances when it benefits them. I don't speak Chinese, so I cannot answer what you are saying. They don't speak monolithically. Just human nature says that is extremely unlikely for things to be that controlled, like that perfectly and insanely in unison and in sync. All right. So if Q is okay, yeah. So if Q is fake, then in all likelihood, most of the conspiracies Q talks about are also fake. If that's the case, then we're in a tough spot, because it is ridiculously obvious that what Trump calls fake news is true, right? Like MSM is fake news, and people know that, but a lot of people who are thinkers don't really try to explain that, right? And what I mean by that is, well, let's use Scott Adams for one of the examples. He just sort of thinks that people go by the beat of their own drum for the most part. Conspiracies, usually not true, but could be. Fake news is a result of, at least this is what he says. Now, he might not actually think this. He might just be making this argument to... thanks, man. Have a good one. He might just be making this argument to... So Scott Adams, he might just be making this argument. Oh, I killed myself. He might just be making this argument to try to move public opinion, but he claims that a lot of the stuff going wrong with the fake news and people making bad decisions and yada 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 is due to Trump derangement syndrome, right? Like, so these news reporters, they legitimately believe the things that they're saying. They're just sort of like the public, and they're sheep, and they have TDS. I do not agree that is a legitimate interpretation for the facts of fake news. It's far too... For the people in the positions of power that they are in, it's sort of, to a certain extent, it's like the same argument that people say, like, oh, Trump's just an idiot. He just managed to get there. And Scott's always like on the first one, like, no, you don't get elected president and be an idiot, right? Like, you just don't. You know what you're doing. Like, you have a strategy. You're intelligent. You're a capable person no matter what, right? Like, like Hillary Clinton, same thing. She is obviously a very capable person. Now, I think her capabilities lie more in the realm of manipulating people than actual strategy, but doesn't matter if you're intelligent at manipulating people and doing criminal activity. That makes you a very capable person, just in the wrong ways. So it's sort of the same argument, saying that everyone, virtually everyone in Congress has TDS, and virtually everyone in the mainstream media has TDS, and virtually everyone who owns and works for Facebook, Twitter, and Apple all also have TDS. Like, these are powerful people. They don't all have TDS. You cannot be that delusional to the extent where Mueller, the heads of the FBI, they all have TDS too. Like, no. They are doing things that are working on their behalf, knowing that a lot of what they say is BS, but knowing that they can get people to, they can get what they want by saying it. Okay? That is by far a more likely explanation than all of these people in positions of extreme power throughout the world are just suffering from TDS and, they really believe all this stuff, but they're just wrong. No way. Not going to buy that. Far more likely that these people in positions of power, who we know got to those positions of power because they're capable, because they know what they're doing, more than likely they're saying what they know they need to say to, increase their position in the world. All right? Now, if that's the case, you've got to look at, well, in that case, you say, well, they aren't that smart anyway because they're giving themselves away to most of the public. I mean, other than the TDS suffering public, who's maybe like, I'd say probably realistically 20 to 25% of the public at max could be that. The rest of us are just like, wow, y'all are crazy. No way. We're not believing anything you say anymore. Like, they're actually just giving away their position of power by doing that. And you think, okay, well, what would cause people in position of power to make decisions that they know in the end are going to give away their position of power, but maybe on some off chance they manage to come out ahead by, like, say, murdering and or impeaching Trump to get him out, blah, blah, whatever. Now we're kind of getting to this point where they must be in desperation mode, okay? Because that's the only way that smart people make a gamble like this from a position of power that they're in, and they're delegitimizing themselves. The only way they make that gamble, intelligent people who would not want to lose their power and who haven't made a gamble like this in like 50 years, guys. Like, they've been doing this for a long time, and they have not gotten this wild on the news. Like, they've been able to keep it in their pants, for a matter of speaking. Oh, no worries, dude. Lots of people watch this video afterwards. It'll be up here for a while. It's early in the morning. Plus, I just started doing this, so I'll start doing it on a normal time weekly.
Solve the cube to break the encryption.
Oh, I gotta solve the cube. This is gonna be really difficult to talk while doing this. So again, we're sort of in this decision, or in this position, I should say, where the most likely scenario is that these people in positions of power are making these sort of desperation moves because they are desperation moves, all right? And the only way that they can be desperation moves is, sorry, at the bare minimum, we have a conspiracy level. I should say this: we have conspiracies at the level of. I don't think anyone's necessarily going to dispute this. For sure, they're doing financial crimes and selling out the country to enrich themselves, making bad deals, crimes that they could certainly be arrested for, and they're now pulling out the stops to try to not get arrested. Okay, like, that's bare minimum what's going on, because Trump's going to go for them. So otherwise, there's just no way they're giving up their position of power. And once that's true, well, it's not that big of a leap to say they've got some other criminal stuff going on too, like, for instance, the child trafficking aspects. And that, to me, is sort of the most important aspect of all this. If it was just the financial stuff, these people in power were only doing financial crimes, it wouldn't be as, I would almost be willing to go the Scott Adams route and say, yeah, let's just let bygones be bygones and not really worry about trying to put them in jail and just try to reconcile the country. The fact that they have other criminal activities very likely going on is something that just needs to be exposed, okay? This cube is it's tough. You have to get all the colors to be the same to break the cube. and win.
Cube to break the encryption.
It's like a little play on Snowden's Rubik's Cube thing. So, in general, I think we're finding ourselves at a point where if Q's real, then we have a serious pedophile problem at the top. And seeing as that basically, given the facts of the other scenario, we're 50-50 on Q being real or not, just to kind of come full circle with this. If we're 50-50 on there being, you know, an organized child trafficking situation at the top of, you know, essentially the Western government, if there's just a 50% chance of that being true, sorry, like, we have to assume it's true, okay? Like, if it's 50-50, we have to assume it's true, and we have to do everything in our power to determine whether that 50-50 chance of it being true is true or not, and that means, you know, essentially, we gotta just assume that Q's real for now, okay? Like, and act as if he is, act as if these people are actually just fighting for their lives here, because they have, you know, a criminal organization that's about to be exposed, and that's why they are sort of. I forgot I have to get these lined up with the middle cube because I can't shoot the middle cube, and that's why they are sort of going off the deep end, purposefully so, but they're all doing it together. And I mean, really,
To break the encryption.
is it that far? Is it that far? Like, we know power corrupts, right? Like, we know that people in positions of power, generally speaking, are going to act differently, you know, in terms of morality and such, than people not in positions of power because they have the money and the means to do so. We also know that psychopaths tend to seek out positions of power because that's where they can be safe and do their psychopath things. All these things are just facts. You know, power being corruptive, psychopaths seeking out positions of power. We also know, like, look at the Vatican. Jeez. We have the second in command to the Pope getting busted for, you know, pedophile stuff earlier, I think it was earlier this year. We have another bishop, you know, all the bishops in wherever it was, like Chile or something, resigned. The Pope comes out and says, hey, we've failed to protect the little ones. Well, yeah, sure, your second command was doing it, man. You expect us to believe you didn't know? Like, get out of town. Like, we know there's we have the Franklin cover-up, which is, you know, a massive Catholic Church scandal with that also had connections to decently high-level government. Like, all these are just facts, okay? Like, no one's going to say there's no pedophiles in government. We know there are. We have Barney Frank. We have Denny Haster. Like, Jeffrey Epstein, who served almost no time, child trafficking. Like, we know it's there, so we know it's at least somewhat there. The only thing we don't know is exactly how big it is, right? It's horrible, but hey, we need to do something. Or, like, if it comes down to, like, if you're in the alt-right media and it comes down to just talk about it, like, just talk about the potential possibility of it being true. Like, that is really should be your duty, okay? Like, all you have to do is just say some words. You don't even have to commit. You just say, you know what? Based on all these facts that are readily available, I'm 50-50 and we should really look into it. I mean, to me, that's the least you could do. That's really the only point that I kind of had in terms of that stuff. So I think that pretty much wraps it out about Q. If you got any questions that you want to specifically ask, Peace, because you're here, man, go ahead and ask them. If not, I'm just going to try to beat this level because I need to focus a little bit. And move forward in this game. Alright, so I've got yellows all around. Let's get this one to flip to... Ah, darn it, it moved. Flip these 2, red. Okay, so I just need the top one and the bottom one. Oh no, he shot it. Damn it. Yellow there. And green there. That one I think is turning on time. Have to get this one. Okay. White, white, white! Oh no! Okay, so that's green. That's gonna turn orange in time. Nope, not quite. Switch that one. That one makes it. That one makes it. Okay, I think we got it. We just gotta not get shot. Come on, come on. Oh no, the top right. Top right. I gotta change top right. I think. Let's see. Who's. No. Blue. No, I gotta change middle. Oh, I died. Oh my gosh, I was watching the cube. Okay. Focus. Let's focus up.
Solve the cube to
Let's get the
break
win.
encryption.
Let's do this. Yellow, yellow. Oh no. Oh, that's fine, that's fine. Blue. Go green there. Okay. Let's get this bottom one. Oh, ho, 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 ho. Okay.
Solve the cube to break the encryption.
I'm with her.
You're with her. We know, robot. That's good enough. Gotta get the right side now. That'll do that one. Top right. Okay, 2 more. We're focused, we're locked in. We got this. Cube is in a not the best position right now. We're just gonna clear mobs. Gonna get on top. Oh no, oh no, it bugged out. It bugged out. That's not good. Okay. This guy messed up one of our cubes though. We're taking some shots. Oh, I messed up one myself. Can't seem to get this gun. I don't know why that is. Oh, there we go.
We have the
Hey! Oh man.
down and go.
Harder than it seems. Well, I have done it very quickly. Sometimes things just kind of work out.
Yeah, but Hillary's into like creepy, weird, sick stuff, man. I hope you're able to find
You know, let's talk a little bit more about conspiracies, things that people do wrong concerning conspiracies. the worst thing ever, again, is when people discount things offhand and don't address facts, and in particular, when they don't address facts that have very few reasonable interpretations, okay? So, like, people discount it, they'll discount something because they say, oh, it's just, if it's true, it's just too hard to believe, so I'm not gonna, it can't be, so I'm just gonna, I'm just going to say it's not true, and I'm not going to look into any kind of facts concerning it. Well, that's no way to live, dude. Like, you can't just be like, too hard to believe, not true, and then ignore facts, okay? Like, at least come up with, what you need to do is you need to come up with reasonable interpretations for the facts, whether or not you, think that the conspiracy interpretation is too hard to believe. And so let me give an example of what I'm saying. Bohemian Grove is a great one. Nobody talks about it. Nobody, except for Alex Jones. Alex Jones talks about it all the time. And conspiracy theorists, but Alex Jones is a conspiracy theorist. They talk about it. Nobody in the MSM talks about it. I'm sure they're not allowed to, okay? Because why wouldn't you talk about every single year a place where super rich and powerful people go and meet? Well, men, I should say, no women. Women aren't allowed. Yeah, because that's acceptable in today's society, right? Nobody talks about it. It's like, why does nobody talk about it? And you could say, oh, it's not even real. Well, yeah, it is. There's tons of photos. People go there. Like, you can go there anytime you want and be outside, and there'll be security there. You'll see people driving in cars. People have ID'd rich people. They're in the WikiLeaks emails talking about Colin Powell going there, okay? We know a few of the things that are in there. We know there's a huge statue to Moloch, and they have a big ceremony. It's more like a stage play, it seems like. But, I mean, how many people know Moloch? Like, nobody knows Moloch, except for, like, maybe historians, people who read the Bible, and apparently all of the elites, right? It's just so weird. And even if there's nothing bad going on, can you just talk about it? Can someone please just talk about it? Please? Can we have an explanation? So, like, all these guys, Jack Sobek, Scott Adams, all you guys who have sway, just talk about it. It's a wildly important fact. Would you not agree? Or if you don't think it's wildly important, could you say why not? Like, be like, okay, yes, I know that for the last 100 years, the elites of the world, including, every United States president, including, CEOs of huge corporations, men, only men, including people from other governments around the world. Yes, I know that they have met yearly in a place called the Bohemian Grove. Yes, I know that there is a huge statue of Moloch, the god of child sacrifice of antiquity there. And I know that they do like a sort of a fake mock sacrifice, an acted out thing called cremation of care. But this is not important because, and then give me the reason. Like, tell me the reason why that is not an important thing to talk about. Right? Like, if people would talk about it more, I would be a lot less inclined to think, maybe these, okay, because so here's my reasonable interpretation. Well, why would rich people go to a place secretly and have a huge god of Moloch there? Well, let's take out the concept of child sacrifice for now. Maybe they just think that, I mean, my guess would be that they religiously believe in, those types of things. And there's precedent for it in history, okay? Like, historically speaking, people did this. The elites, they worshipped these gods. And you might just have sort of like a traditional religion there of elites that they kind of stick with because, they're in the power club or whatever. But that said, it's like, why would they want to keep it secret? Well, I don't know. Maybe because most of the country is Christian and they think that worshiping gods like Moloch is evil, so they probably wouldn't get reelected. Hey, that's probably true. But if that's the case, it should still probably come out and people should still probably talk about it, right? Like, do you really, even if you're an atheist, like, do you really want your elites sort of like paying homage to ancient gods of human sacrifice? Like, is this a thing we're cool with? I don't know. But nobody talks about it. So, like, Just that fact alone that nobody talks about, very annoying. And then when you add everything up that nobody talks about, that's where it starts just getting ugh. And I know you can't just take a bunch of circumstantial evidence and say, oh, this proves this proves that. I get it. But again, I'm kind of okay with going 50-50. Okay, like I'm okay with going 50-50 on this whole like child trafficking thing, considering. Let's just lay out the facts. Let's lay out the most relevant facts. Jeffrey Epstein. Know for a fact that he ran a child trafficking ring, was, you know, put in on like 40-something counts of child trafficking, only pleaded guilty to 1 and only got 13 months. We know for a fact also that Bill Clinton was on his plane 24 times. Know that for a fact. So, fact number 1, that. Okay? So now you have it in the U.S. government. Or at least a connection to the U.S. government. Fact number 2, the Franklin cover-up. Okay, this went to civil court. The judge ruled, you know, they had evidence, ruled in favor of Paul Bonacci. All right, we had a child sex ring run from a Roman Catholic institution that was servicing, you know, generally speaking, Republican government, at least in the area. Allegations of it servicing much higher than that, like all the way to the White House. You know, so now you've got the left side with Clinton and Epstein implicated. You've got the right side with the Franklin cover-up implicated, right? And this is just, we're just talking about child sex trafficking. We're talking about child sex trafficking, and we're talking about it, you know, being institutionalized to the extent where at least criminals within, like, you know, the FBI and whatnot, we're trying to cover this up, okay? And they do it, you know, for supposed national security reasons. Yeah, I'm sure it's a national security reason if your president's a pedophile, right? Like, that's a problem for your nation. It's not a legitimate one, but it is a national security problem. So we've got Epstein. This is a fact. We've got the Franklin cover-up. This is a fact. Look it up. It's in court cases. It's there. What else do we have? We have the Catholic Church. Okay, super powerful institution. Just a fact. Goes all the way to the second in command there, at least. At least. And they're talking about the Pope is maybe about to resign because he knew and was... He knew, you know? I mean, if he knew, he knew. He didn't stop it for a long time. So what's next? Catholic Church, Democrats, Republicans. Okay, how about, let's just go to a few more examples. Barney Frank. We know he had some underage gentleman at D.C. Never really got pinned on it, but it was out there. What about Denny Hastert? He got pinned on it. They didn't actually pin him on that because statute of limitations. Oh, how lucky, statute of limitations. But they did get him on the whole money thing to make the payoffs for molesting the boys. So, okay, now we've got another one, Denny Hastert. He became Speaker of the House. Whoa, geez, okay, so now there's that one. You know, we have photographs of Denny Hastert hanging out with Tony Podesta when they were young, doing trips to China. Okay, we have the Podestas. You know, nothing proven yet, but we have definitely their selection of art is very pedophiliac. Again, give them a pass because it's art? Sure, why not? Give them a pass, okay? But again, we're talking about high-level people in government, super high level. What else in terms of child trafficking? Well, I think that's enough in terms of factual child trafficking at the top of... Oh, Britain, Great Britain. You had Jimmy Savile, right? Very close to the royal family, covered up his pedophilia for a long time, okay? When you have that much pedophilia at the top, guys, when you have that much, like, there is a problem, all right? It's being covered up, and there is a problem. Now, how deep does the problem go? Well, I don't know, like, logically speaking... Again, all I've said so far are just facts, okay? Like, I haven't said anything even disputable at this point. Logically speaking, at that point, when you've got all these second-in-commands and stuff, I think when you're talking about people in the positions of power that they're in, running the world, logically speaking, at best... you have the people at the top aren't actually partakers, but they use it to control the people underneath them, okay? At best. That's best case scenario. It's not a very good best case scenario. That's like a pretty bad best case scenario, in fact. Anyway, that reason alone, to come again full circle of why I decided to put Q in this game, and why, even though I'm 50-50 on whether Q is real, and I'm 50-50 on a lot of this stuff that I've been talking about. The only problem is that the alternative explanations inevitably end up having me believe that a lot of these people in positions of power in the world are pretty incapable TDS sufferers, and that's, to me, that is not any more likely than a lot of these conspiracies just being true. Okay, like, not, again, people in positions of power around the world retaining their power, like, to call them TDS sufferers who are just really incapable of, like, of proper reasoning to a point, you know, that's not any more likely. You can't say, well, that's the most likely explanation. No, you not when you're dealing with people in power. Sorry, like when you're dealing with like sheep, pedestrians, sure, mass hysterias, sure, mass elite hysterias though, they have way too much going for them. Mass hysteria doesn't affect the most effective people in the world. It just doesn't, like, generally speaking. Generally speaking, they tend to be the more independent thinkers anyway. So that's why I will at this stage assume, even though I'm 50-50, I will assume that Q is real, because we need to look into these things. We need to have a lot more people with like legitimate followings talking about it, lending an air of legitimacy. Okay, and when I say lending an air of legitimacy, I mean you've got to give people electricity. You have to get people out of this mental mode of saying, nope, don't want to deal with it, not true, too crazy. You have to get rid of that and start saying, no, we need to address the facts for these things, because there are facts and they are disturbing. Like, if you're going to say, nope, not real, then you darn well better address the facts and give reasonable explanations for those facts, okay? And when I say reasonable, I even mean, like, it better be something that's 99%, yeah, that's probably it, okay? So, like, give me something 99%, yeah, that's probably it about Bohemian Grove. Give me something 99%, yeah, that's probably it about why we have Jeffrey Epstein and Denny Hastert and the entire Roman Catholic Church and Jimmy Savile and, you know, the Franklin cover-up. Okay, give me a 99% decent explanation. Like, be like, well, yeah, sure, there's pedophiles and they're connected to basically United States presidents for this past time, but it's not really a problem that we should concern ourselves with, and it's not really like a conspiracy at the level of like an international level because XYZ. Like, tell me, you know? And I'll listen. Believe me, I would love for people to discuss. Like, and I mean by people, I mean people who can give legitimacy to things, to subjects that can make people listen to a certain extent. All right, we gotta turn all these servers on now to hack Hillary's emails, or to hack the lost emails, so we can get all the evidence that we need. Actually, the game kind of goes in pretty well with that stuff. With all the stuff that I've just been talking about, we're in relevant areas here. She keeps going up there to break that server, and I can't get to it. Ugh! Stop it with your hammer! Damn, down again. This is a tough level. I will say this game is a lot easier with 2 players. I don't want to say a lot easier, but if you've got 2 people who are working together, it gives you a much better shot at it. My strategy here is to go to the top 2 first. So every time you hack a server, the defenses come up. So like if I hack this server, then the defenses up here will come up. And like every so often I have to get out because the electricity will come. Damn. Gotta clear things out a bit here. Ah. Oh, down again. Down again. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna beat this game.
Do you know that we see all? Do you know that we hear all? Fear the storm. Nobody playing the
Come
game
on,
gets
get the
a
heck,
free
get the
pass.
heck. Oh, didn't get it. Actually, you know what? Maybe it's better to not get it for a second and just get this one up. Sort of switch between them so I don't have to wait so long. I can get both top ones, which makes me not have to worry about the top defenses. Is there enough time? I don't know. Got that one. Okay, so I got a little bit of a head start, but it wasn't great. Ah. Oh, shoot. Oh, man. I gotta get back up there.
No 12. No caretaker. No fortress USA. I'm turning. Drop is identical.
Oh, I'm losing. I'm losing it. Oh, he sniped me. Alright, let's try to get this a hair's breadth from the top. And then head over to the other one.
Do you know that we see all?
And then see how much leeway that gives us.
Nobody playing the game gets a free pass.
Stay rolled.
Come on. Okay, let's go. Over. Alright, that gave us a little bit of a head start. I like it. I like it. Get down.
I'm with Drew.
Okay. We'll wait this one out. Can we do it? We got it! Alright, that's 2 top ones. It's half the battle, as G.I. Joe would say. Let's hit the mid one on the left. Whoa, almost got sniped.
Hands too small. Can't build more.
Damn it. Fell down. We are going to hack those emails. We're going to take her down. Going to get her arrested.
No troops here.
Make it happen.
Hands too small. Can't build more.
These defenses do kill the enemies as well, so that kind of helps keep things a little bit more clear.
No 12. No caretaker.
Ugh.
Fortress USA.
Alright, there's that hack. We want to do the center last, because no defenses can stop the center. Now we get in a little bit the fun times here.
No troops here.
Oh, oh! Okay, I'm going to go to this one. Oh, man, laser. Oh, another laser. Oh! Oh, laser again. Oh, laser again.
No troops here.
Oh, I thought I was going to land. Oh, so close. Alright, come on, boys. Let's do this. If we don't get it, I think I might just start here next time. Next time I have a topic to talk about. Start doing these on a weekly basis, perhaps.
You know that we hear all. Fear the storm. Nobody playing the game gets a free pass.
Drop is identical.
Oh, I capped it. I wasn't supposed to cap it. I was supposed to wait. Oh, died anyway. All right, one more shot. I'm gonna give it one more shot. Let's do it. Let's do it smart. Let's go just a hair's breadth from the...
That we see all.
Hillary came.
Know that we hear all. Fear the storm. Nobody plays the game.
Ha.
Pass.
Stay woke.
Oh, I'm dead. Alright. 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 That's it for now. We'll restart at the server room when we go next time. Thanks for watching.